So right now, those weekly and monthly charts suggest there's still support here. What you're about to see is a video snippet from inside the boiler room. Every single morning before the open of the US stock markets, I analyze dozens of stocks and then decide on the trades that we're going to look at for that day with dozens of traders. We all get together, execute trades, chat some, and make some money together on a Zoom conference call. Go to thepatterntrader.com/club to find out more. The dollar's starting to come off, which is very important. We're starting to see this triple top, which I was looking at as it was happening. And so, the dollar looks like it's formed a short-term top. Gold looks like it's formed a bottom. And it's just a question of how long do these things continue for? And it could be a lot longer than we think. So right now, these risk assets have, got some headway here. So the next resistance in gold is right around this 1808. So we're about $20 away, $30 away. It's fairly confusing because these indexes, everything is put in what looks like a fairly, I won't say sizable bottom, but just like a bottom that, so this is the IGV. And I'm very bearish. The main charts, suggest you're going to go lower. But now we have these two reversals on the monthly. Now, the problem is we're only in the middle of the month. So what this looks like now, is very different than what, it's probably going to look like at the end of the month. So this is the IGV. So I put a lot of stock in how things close, at relative levels. When you make a bottom and then, you close at the high, it's difficult to fight that if you're short. Now, again, the difficult thing is we're still half a month away from knowing where this is going to close. And if it closes down here, it's going to have a very different look than it's closing than it looks right now. But, if we close at this high or even higher, kind of hard to foresee this thing kind of going and making new lows. It would have to kind of go up, build away for a considerable period of time. And, the other thing is just, this thing has come straight down. So you need some kind of relief thing in order for it to go back down again. So it's very, very complicated right now. The markets are bearish. This looks like a bear market wave, but at the same time, we're putting in a bottom, on the daily, the weekly, and, these bottoms can just get taken out. And we could look like that next month where, you make a new high and it just fails. So all kinds of possibilities. But it's very complex right now. You've effectively come fairly close. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, you came right to where the objective was on this chart. And no, coincidence, you bounced there. So now this is a formidable place on this chart. It's going to take a while to kind of work through this, before, or even if it, is going to go make a new low. So it's very complicated in here. And then you get news events. Yesterday it was the war, and the Qs came down, then it's retail sales today, and then it's something else. So it's very event driven. But in the context of everything, these things look like they're kind of putting in, bottoms. Now, sometimes, we see these patterns and, they only last for a little bit, but they go on for rallies. When you kind of see these areas, you put on a little wave and then it makes a new low. And now it's an open question where, you put in a bottom here, do you go and bang into this downtrend line and then kind of turn around and make a new low? I don't know. It looks like that's a thing, but at the same time, we're kind of just making this big bad bottom. We're breaking out, and now we kind of have to see, how it does here. Does it consolidate? So again, I always say, I look at the structure of the market and then I see how does it behave. Does it start failing here and going back? Does it consolidate and look like it wants to go higher? So right now, those weekly and monthly charts suggest there's still support here. There's a gap right here, 295. And I just think that, the market just wants to go to 305 on the Qs. It wants to go to 295 IGV. It wants to go to 4,100 S&P. And then we'll see, but it's even possible we go higher because the Dow is also breaking out. It's knocking on the door of a breakout up here. So this is where, so easy to reflex back to, it was a whole bear market the whole year. And I'm always on guard about kind of having the same. So you're somewhat just breaking out. Is this a false breakout? Or do we still have higher to go? I mean, there is a serious right here, about 34,300 is where I think you're going to get some form of resistance. And it's about 295 to 297 on the Qs, about 700 points higher. And then, 35,000. So again, we're going to have to see how we act. We're going to have to see how this week closes. Do we fail? Do we put on a key reversal? But even if you put on a key reversal, something that goes straight up is just not going to go straight down. So path of least resistance is higher, but you got to sleep with one eye open. So very, very difficult in here. I feel that we're at these major areas. These are our resistance areas, and they can very quickly turn into a resistance and, start failing. We're kind of creeping up into this little area to cover this gap. So we're right about there, 40.50 to 41.25 in the S&P. So we're getting close to some very, very critical areas. And all you have to, you just have to be mindful of these areas. You don't have to trade them all. So right here is a reversal that comes in at about 294.5. This was an area that I was watching. So not surprising, we came to 294 yesterday and then cratered because there is just a lot of supply right now in the Qs at this area. And I don't know that we get through it. I mean, we bang right up against it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is an overhead area of supply. And then the next area would be about 310. So this on the long term, on the weekly, is kind of what I'm looking for as a, as a potential where this thing might go to before it kind of goes back into its downtrend. But, this seems to be, the driving formation. And they look pretty formidable, these IGV and what have you. These look like, sometimes you do get a little pattern and, and it does, drive it for quite some time. But, sometimes you think you see a pattern and then it, craps out. So I always ask myself, is this pattern sustainable? Is this going to lead to, is this a real bottom? Is this going to lead to a move over time that's going to lead to, higher lows and higher highs? And we're a long way from kind of adjudicating that. So, but, start to break out of these downtrend lines and we're just in the middle now. We're at resistance. This is support. We're right at the top end of the resistance. And, we just have to see the price action. But I always say, look, it's like Moderna. When something goes straight up, we need to see, a lot of things going sideways, like here, where it takes a while, where it just needs to kind of build some space so that I can go down again. And it's the same thing in here. If it's going to go down, it's going to take a little while to build some space. I don't think it's just going to drop out of the sky. But anything's possible. So I admit that, I like to get things right as they're coming out of certain areas. And right now we've, had a pretty good stretch. And, I don't know if we just digest this move and then put on another move or entirely just fail. Hey, if you would like to trade alongside me every day and join our most prestigious program, then head over to thepatterntrader.com/club for more information.